Good morning, dear student. Today we are going to discuss one more important topic, that is hypothesis. In this particular video, we are going to discuss about what is hypothesis, why hypothesis is important, what are the number of steps to formulate hypothesis, why hypothesis and hypothesis testing is important. As we know, today's scenario of data driven, a lot of data daily getting by the companies like Flipkart, Big Bazaar and Amazon, and this such type of companies, a number of companies are getting number of data, so their decisions are based on the analysis of data, and for that purpose hypothesis is most important tool to analysis, to take right decision, to take right analysis. Without this particular tool, a researcher can take wrong decision, which may be make wrong decision, and that will be a loss of company for the company in dollars, or reputation of analyst or scientist may be possible. So in today's data-driven world, decisions are based on data all the time. Hypothesis plays a crucial role in that process, whether it may be making business decisions in health sector, in academia, or in quality improvement. Without hypothesis and hypothesis tests, you risk drawing the wrong decisions, wrong conclusions, making bad decisions that can be costly, either in business dollars or your reputation as an analyst or scientist. By understanding hypothesis test, we become confident that when to use each type of the test, how to use them properly to obtain reliable results, and how to interpret the results correctly. This is very much important part for any businessman, for any academia person, for any health sector areas researcher or decision makers, to make their decisions on the basis of this research analysis and using this hypothesis tool. This is the main concept of the importance of this hypothesis testing, hypothesis and hypothesis testing. A hypothesis is a statement that can be tested by the scientific research. If you want to test a relationship between two or more things, you need to write hypothesis before you start your experiment or data collection. Examples: daily apple consumption leads to fewer doctor's visit. A hypothesis is a statement that can be tested by scientific research. If you want to test a relationship between two or more things, you need to write hypothesis before you start your experiment or data collection. Simply, a hypothesis is a prediction or assumption of any person. But this assumption is not only a guess or not only a assumption. Such type of assumption which can be tested, that will be considered in research hypothesis. Otherwise, and that will be based on your scientific research. If you want to test relations between two or more things, you need to write hypothesis before you start your experiment or data collection. Example which I have discussed, that a daily apple consumption leads to fewer doctor's visit. Frequency of doctor visit will be few when you will use fruits. If you will use exercises daily, then you will be fit. If you are using precautions of whatever given by the government of India for the corona infection, then your chances of the infection will be reduced. So this type of the concept, and number of researchers are going on that. A number of researches are going on that, and daily you are getting a lot of informations regarding your corona infections precautions. So then such type of the researches is giving such type of the decisions by using such type of the precautions. Government is saving a lot of lives. So then it is very much important, and how the results should be specific and should be very much scientific. Then your research will be useful. What is a hypothesis? Now, what is a hypothesis? A hypothesis states your predictions about what your research will find. It is a tentative answer to your research questions that has not yet been tested. For some research projects, you might have to write several hypotheses that addresses different aspects of your research questions. A hypothesis is not just a guess. It should be based on existing theories and knowledge. It also has to be testable, which means you can support or refute it through scientific research method such as experiments, observation, statistical analysis of data. So hypothesis, what is hypothesis? Hypothesis states your prediction or assumption about what a researcher will find. It is a tentative answer to your research questions that has not yet been tested. For some research projects, you might have to write several hypotheses that addresses different aspects of your research questions. A hypothesis, it is not just a guess. It should be based on what you want to get, and whatever these hypotheses you are formulating, that should be testable. And this should be based on one concept. Idea should be whatever the ideas you are making. I will discuss in later on in our next. That idea should be converted into the concept. That's we have met number of theories and knowledge is required for that. So then we'll discuss in next slide. First we'll discuss about the definition of hypothesis. A hypothesis is basically unproven statement of a research question in a testable format. Hypothetical statement can be formulated about any variables and can express a possible relationship between two or more market factors. While research questions and hypotheses are similar in their intent to express relationship, hypothesis tends to be more specific and declarative. Whether research problem statements are more integrative, hypothesis can be tested empirically through the research process. A hypothesis is basically unproven statement of a research question in a testable format. Simple. Hypothetical statement can be formulated about any variable and can express a possible relationship between two or more factors, market factors, like your sales. Like sales of any particular product is depend upon the quality and price. So then one variable is sale, another variables are quality and price. So then one variable is impact on another variable, one variable is effect and other variable is cost. Cause and effect is there. While research questions and hypotheses are similar in the intent to express relationships, research questions may be integrative, but when we are going to discuss about the hypothesis, it should be more specific. It should be more specific and testable format. It should be testable format. It should be clear about. Variables in hypothesis. In experimental correlational research, hypothesis proposes a relationship between two or more variables. An independent variable is something the researcher change or controls. A dependent variable is something researcher observes and measures. In experimental or correlational research, hypothesis proposes a relationship between two or more variables. One is independent variable, another is dependent variable. Dependent variable we can observe and measures only. Independent variable we can control, like sale of any particular product is dependent variable, and price and quality is independent variable. You can control the price, you can control the quality of any product, but sales you can observe. It can be if you are improving the quality or decreasing the price or best price you are providing, then sales may be increased. Whatever the or maybe decrease also, and if you are decreasing if impact of the quality and price, so then sales is dependent variable. We can only observe and measures. We cannot do change any that will be changed due to impact of dependent variable. Daily apple consumption leads to fewer direct doctor's visit. If you are using fruits, consumption leads to fewer frequency of visit to doctor. So here one is dependent variable, another is independent variable. In this example, the dependent variable is apple consumption and assumed cause. The dependent variable is frequency of doctors visit, the assumed effect. So this is the major concept behind this. You must be understand these things. Developing a hypothesis. Now, what are the number of steps to develop a hypothesis? First, ask a question. Writing a hypothesis begins with the research question that you want to answer. The question should be focused, specific, and researchable within the constraints of your project. First, ask a question. Writing a question begins with the research question that you want to answer. The question should be focused, specific, that should be specific and researchable within the constraints of your project. It should be in that particular constraint. That should not be outside. Do students who attended more lectures get better exam results? So this is the one question. Do students who attended more lectures get better result? Here is two variables, one is dependent, another is independent. But when you are going to make such type of the hypothesis, then you should be make it more refined way, and we'll discuss in next points. Do some preliminary research. Your initial answers to the question should be based on what is already known about the topic. Look for theories and previous studies to help you from educated assumptions about what your research will find. At this stage, you might construct a conceptual framework, identify which variables you will study and what you think the relationships are between them. So here, because you have going to develop one hypothesis, the first point you asked questions, then do some preliminary research studies. What their number of theories and what are the researches and what are the theses has been and what are the other literatures are based on this type of the topic, and what research hypothesis they have developed on which particular factors and which particular variables they have used. Then you will get more and more ideas about that, and then you can make much better hypothesis, and you will get number of ideas, and that idea should be help to make you your concepts. So these things will do by preliminary research. Third point is formulate your hypothesis. Now you should have some ideas of what you expect to find. Write your initial answer to the questions in a clear, concise sentence. Like, attending more lectures leads to better exam results. You are now making more refined and more clear, specific form. Now you should have some ideas of what you expect to find. You are going to study about the students are attending more lectures, they are getting better result. If you are going to study like this, then it will be your hypothesis you will formulate and refine much better way. Now refine your hypothesis. You need to make sure your hypothesis is testable, specific. There are various ways of phrasing a hypothesis, but all the terms you use should have clear definitions. And the hypothesis should contain what number of points, the relevant variables. There should be relevant variables, a specific group being studied, and predicted outcomes of the experiment or analysis. What you want to get result by which particular variables, which one is independent variable, which one is independent variable, and what result you want to get. Then your hypothesis, and that hypothesis should be testable and specific. Then this type of the hypothesis you should be refine your hypothesis by this way. Now phrase your hypothesis in three ways. How you will make your hypothesis as more refined, and it should be in phrase form. To identify the variables, you can write a simple prediction if then forms. The first part of the sentence states this dependent variable, independent variable, and the second part states dependent variable. Again I am repeating this. To identify the variable, you can write a simple prediction in if then form. The first part of the sentence states a independent variable, and the second part of it states dependent variable. If a first year student started attending more lectures, then their exam scores will improve. Like this. In academic research, hypotheses are more commonly phrased in terms of the correlation or effects, where you directly state the predicted relationship between the variables. The number of lectures attended by the first year student has a positive effect on their exam scores. If you are comparing two groups, the hypothesis can state what difference you accept to find between them. If you are going to compare first year student who attended more lectures will have better exam scores than those who attended few lectures. So you are comparing who are attending more lecture and who are attending few lectures. Before that example you have studied about the number of lecture attended by the first year student has a positive effect on their exam scores. We can refine according to your outcomes. What researcher want to get outcomes. Last point, write a null hypothesis. If your research involves statistical hypothesis testing, you will also have to write a null hypothesis. The null hypothesis is default position that there is no association between the variables. Okay, the null hypothesis is written as H0 or H0, while the alternative hypothesis is H1 or HA. Like this example, previous example which we have studied, the number of lectures attended by first year students has no effect on their final exams score. Has no effect on their final exams score means there is default, this is default position, that there is no association between the variables. And second, H1, the number of lectures attended by first year student has positive effect on their final exams scores. So here, positive effect on their final exams score, and here no effect on their final exams score. This is the main concern, and we'll use this concept when we will discuss about the hypothesis testing in next videos. Hypothesis examples. Now you will more clear. Now you will more clear about the concept of hypothesis. We have discussed about in previous slides. The research questions will be integrative. Hypothesis will be more specific and testable, and null hypothesis will no association between the variables, means H0, means H0, means there is no effect of the variables. So then what are the first hypothesis? We'll discuss research questions. What are the health benefits of eating an apple a day? This is integrative question. And hypothesis question, how you will make it hypothesis? Increasing apple consumption in over 60s will result decreasing frequency of doctor's visit. What is null hypothesis? Increasing apple consumption in over 60s will have no effect on frequency of doctor's visit. You must be clear about. It is integrative research question. Hypothesis, now increasing apple consumption in over 60s will result decreasing frequency of doctor's visit. We have two variables. Very clearly we have two variables, increasing apple consumption, and second is frequency of doctor's visit. So then if you are increasing, this is independent variable, and frequency to visit doctor is dependent variable. It is now clear about the hypothesis when you are formulating. And null hypothesis, there is no effect. No effect. Which airlines have most delays? Integrative. Low cost airlines are more likely to have delays than the premium airlines. It is clear. Two variables. And low cost and premium airlines are equally likely to have delays. Third example, can flexible work arrangement improve job satisfaction? Employees who have flexible working hours will report great job satisfaction than employees who work fixed hours. Now you will clear about what are the number of dependent variable and what are the number of independent variables. There is no relationship between the working hours, flexible, and job satisfaction. Flexibility and job satisfaction. What effect does daily use of social media have on attention span of under 16s? There is a negative correlation between time spent on social media and attention span in under 16s. There is no relationship between social media use and attention span in the under 16s. Now you can understand about this. This is integrative. What is the impact of the teenagers? 16 means teenagers of the social media. What is social media? This is the research question. And then in hypothesis, there is negative correlation. There is relative negative correlation. This is assumption. This is your prediction. There is negative correlation between time spent on social media and attention span in under 16s. Social media's impact is negative according to assumption, according to prediction. And there is no relationship between the social media use, attention span in under 16s. These are the number of examples of hypothesis. I'm sure about you must be clear about the hypothesis. What is hypothesis? What is importance of hypothesis? How to formulate hypothesis? What are the definitions and meaning of hypothesis? In next lecture, we'll discuss in detail about hypothesis testing. Thank you.